Good morning. My name is Iman Sawarja, and I'm assuming most of you will know me since you're on my Facebook. I don't ever really do this, ever, but I really felt the need to today. Happy Halloween, everybody. It's October 31st, and a pretty scary time today in just our world. Yesterday, as many of you may know, I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old, 2 little boys. Yesterday, while I was at my 5-year-old son's hockey practice, I was scrolling through some news feeds and ran into a story about 2 cops that were arrested for raping a woman that was in their custody. And they I guess they're going to plead guilty as far as consensual sex, but not rape. And then as I kept scrolling, I found another article, and the second one was about a 12-year-old boy who jumped off an overpass onto a vehicle and killed the driver and seriously injured himself and is now in the hospital. As I'm sitting there, and I am watching my 5-year-old son on the ice, having the time of his life. I'm sitting there with my 12-year-old son, and wondering how I even talk to him about this. And I just look over to him and I ask him, if he knows what suicide is. And as the conversation keeps evolving, I realize I have an amazing son. He's really bright, he's really kind, and hopefully that's not something I ever have to worry about. Thinking that was going to be the worst conversation I would have to have that today or yesterday or ever really with my 12-year-old son. We get home, and as we are settling in for the night, I scroll through Facebook and find a picture that has been circulated around the Fargo-Moorhead area of a man dressed as a member of the KKK. And if anybody hasn't seen the article, in the forum, or if you haven't seen the picture being circulated, it was a man dressed up at the Wild Rice Bar. And once again, I thought, well, I have a really open and honest relationship with my children, and this is probably something that I'm going to need to talk to them about. But I thought I should probably think about it before I speak to them. Unfortunately, I was so upset that this is the world that they live in that I started crying. And both my 9-year-old and my 5-year-old asked me why I was crying. And as I'm showing them this picture, obviously they don't know anything about the KKK. And I'm trying to find words to put together as to how the KKK even has ever existed. And as I'm speaking to them, I'm looking at them and they're so confused, but they are so understanding as well of other people's weaknesses and other people's shortcomings and how people can be so hateful. And I look over and my older son tells my younger son, "I love you." And I put them to bed, and I'm still obviously very upset. I have 2 sons that look very different, that come from 2 different races, that are completely different in every way. And they're both amazing human beings. But as a mom, to realize that my 2 sons would probably be looked at differently throughout their whole lives, would probably be treated differently their whole lives. But they wouldn't even understand why, because all they know is to love each other. And I guess I am expressing myself because if there is anybody out there that has any amount of hate in their heart, to think that it is funny to dress up as a member of the KKK on Halloween, I hope you realize that that group represents a lot of horrific things in history. And it represents probably one of the worst times in history. And to make a joke out of it, I think is extremely, extremely insensitive and cruel. And I'm hoping that if anybody has any hate in their heart, that they see this video and they realize that there are children in this world. No child is brought into this world with any amount of hate. It's only what you teach your children. And it's only what you put in their minds that is okay to take out to the rest of the world. I can't even begin to understand any amount of this hate, because in my home, we teach each other to love each other regardless of race, regardless of color of your skin, of religion, of your social hierarchy, or where you come from, or anything else. And as a mother, I went to bed last night so upset that my children have to wake up and go into this world and even be at risk of feeling any amount of this hate. And I don't believe that, I want to believe that this person just meant it as a joke or whatever else, but I really hope that other people can see how much it can hurt somebody and how unacceptable it is. And as a community, we can hopefully come together and not stand for things like this. I'm pretty disappointed to hear that the person was not kicked out of the bar. And in the pictures, it didn't look like anybody was even trying, or it didn't look like anybody was disturbed by it, except for Ashley, and I don't remember her last name, unfortunately, who took this Snapchat picture. And that really scares me, because I have been, I'm a Sri Lankan. I moved to the United States when I was 8 years old. I'm an immigrant. I'm an American. And I just feel like I have made Fargo Moorhead my home for the past 7 to 8 years. And it's scary to think that I've been an active part of the community. I've volunteered. I've worked with a lot of people in the community, and there's so many great people there. And it's scary to know that in my community, that something like this could happen. And I just hope that as a community, we can come together and stand against things like this and just show each other love and compassion and be kind. Because in the end of the day, we're all human beings. Like, we are all human beings. We're all going through the same struggle. We're all going through life. And honestly, there's so many other things that we could put our heart and soul into and take away from hate. So if any of my Facebook friends can do me a favor and share this video, and I don't mean on your social media, I just mean with a friend, with a neighbor, with anybody you think that could use a little bit more love in their heart. This is coming from a mother of 2 young little boys. And I know there's a lot of moms out there, and there's a lot of moms, maybe a lot of single moms, that are in the same shoes as me, that maybe have mixed race children, or maybe have children who are not the majority race in this country. But just to understand that there's different people out there. There's something to love about every single human being out there. And if you take half the time that you spend putting that hate in your heart into loving somebody, you're going to find so many people in this world to love. That's really it. It's 6:30 in the morning, and I do have to wake up my 2 children for school. And hopefully, I don't know, hopefully they're waking up to a better world. And that's my prayer for today. And doesn't matter who you're praying to, but I think this world could use all the prayers it can get. I know this is a long video, but I hope you guys watched it, and hopefully it made somewhat of an impact in your day. Thanks, and have a good day.